Alrighty, everybody. So today I'm gonna show you a quick way to get some easy coin. Um, Pretty quick coin, a bit of experience, and a quick rundown for a couple of different runs you can make for a few different things and get yourself loaded up on weapons. It's not the runs aren't always going to be quick. They're not always going to work. But having checked online when I started out, not seeing much of an update on just general things to help new players, I figured I'm gonna show you guys some quick and easier way to get yourself started. So I'm going to go in with nothing but what a new player would have minus my wallet. So the WT rig, I'm not even going to take that in. So I'm going to go in with just the wallet, bandage, some pineapple juice. I'm even going to leave the scav vest here. The Vepr is also going to stay. What I am going to take in for a couple of these runs is simply things that you can buy from the level 1 people, from your level 1 traders. So if you can't get it at the first tier starting out, I'm not going to bring it in. Right? So I'm going to leave this up here for now, I guess. I'll move stuff around later. So yeah, only things you can get right off the bat. So I'm not going to go in with any heavy weaponry or anything like that, just things that you can get right away. So to start, what I'm going to do is show you a couple of things that you can get right away for relatively cheap. So when you start out, whether it's alpha, whether you have your alpha container, beta container, or gamma container, you will more or less have access to the same couple of weapons. Primarily your PM pistol and your TT pistol. To show you a little bit better, I'm going to open them up at the trade, with the trader kicking in here. So these are your two base weapons that you can get for relatively cheap from Prapor. You can get your PM pistol, it's going to run you about 5,000, or your TT pistol I think is about 7,500 when you start at level 1 without any bonuses from leveling him up at all. So if you're going in with alpha, with just your alpha container, you're starting out relatively light, I would probably recommend learning the maps first. So go in, do some hatchet runs on factory and stuff like that. Learn factory that way. But if you're going to do something like interchange, customs, or shoreline, buy yourself a pistol. You don't need to go in and buy yourself the submachine guns and bring in all those guns that you start with. I think everybody starts with the PM pistols, so just bring one of them in, an extra magazine or two, and you'll be fine. The ammo you get for the PM pistol is relatively cheap, so you can get it for 11 rubles a round. And if you can hit somebody in the head without a helmet, or in the face, even if they are wearing a helmet, they die. So it doesn't matter if you're running the nice big AKs, the M4s, the handguns. If you get somebody in the head and it doesn't hit armor, they will die. It's just the way it is. So to start, I'm going to actually go in with the PM pistol. It's relatively small. You get your 8-round magazines. It's nothing fancy, but it should get the job done. So I'm just going to buy extra magazine. Where is it? I want to say that there. So if you're not sure, if you're starting out and you're just not sure if you're getting the right magazine, because sometimes you actually have to go in and it doesn't tell you it's a PM magazine. It just gives you this long string of stuff. So it'll say 4 8 PM rounds, but if you just look, like if you're just looking at the magazines or you miss that, then you could buy the wrong one and waste some money that would be better spent elsewhere. So if you're ever unsure, just double click, go into compatible with available, and it'll tell you if you have what you have that it'll fit in. So I have 2 PM pistols. I have one there, and I have one a little bit farther down. So I have both of those right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to buy 2 magazines. And then typically when it comes to ammo, I try not to go super cheap. So you can get your nice 11 ruble rounds, or you can get your 20 ruble rounds. The difference may, like when you're looking at them, it may not seem very big, but it very much can be. If you're unsure, and you can get ammo for roughly the same price. At the end of the day, it's up to you. You can go really cheap and take your chances, or you can drop the extra rubles and get yourself something a little bit better. So for this, I'm going to go mid-range and get the PM9 PGH. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with something I'm pretty sure everybody has access to, and I'm going to get the 16 ruble PM PS PPO round. So lead core, it seems like a very standard round, and I'm going to grab just 20 rounds. So that's 320 rubles. You can grab your gun. You should start out with them, but you can grab a gun for about 5,000 rubles. Extra magazines are about 1,000 rubles. So all in all, you're looking at like 7,000 rubles. Always make sure that the magazine you have loaded has ammo in it. Last thing you want is to go in and just not have anything loaded in there, pull the trigger and have it not work. The other thing I would recommend, one of the things I ran into running the Vepr is not all ammunition will work with the gun that the magazine fits in. So the easiest way is when you put it in there, if there's nothing here, if it just looks like the gun in there, then you should be good. If you load a magazine in and the area around the gun goes red, it's no good. So you just check them, and should be good. So the PP handgun is not a great gun. It is the bottom of the barrel. It's the bottom of the barrel gun, but it's cheap, and if you can get the kill, you can upgrade really quickly. So we will go in with this. The hatchet here, I think everyone starts with a melee weapon of some form, whether it be a knife or a hatchet. It is what it is. The gamma container, if you enjoy the game, I highly recommend getting the Edge of Darkness. It is I find it to be worth it. So this will just be the things that a new player would have, plus a wallet. So I'll keep the wallet. The wallet is great if you can find one. Definitely get one. I'm going to take a bandage in and some pineapple juice. The reason I'm taking in the bandage, and only the bandage with me, is because if I start to bleed out close to an exit, this will be quick and it'll help. That and IFAX and morphine aren't something everyone has access to. So if you go in here, you can get pineapple juice for it'll be about 500 rubles. but in a long run, like interchange, it's definitely worth it. There have been plenty of times where I've been running around making a ton of noise just trying to find something to drink. Um, and it's really good to have, because even if you only have a 2x2 and this takes up a chunk of it and your meds take up some space, you can always drink this. It's not going to hurt you to drink the pineapple juice. At worst, it'll shorten your run by a couple of minutes. Painkillers are good to have, and then the AI2 med kit, also known as tactical cheese. These are all good things to have. The splint, for some reason, I've broken legs and not been able to use it. I've damaged legs and not been able to use it. Don't bother. I could be wrong, but I've never come in to a time where I've needed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a thing of painkillers. They'll run you probably about 3,000 rupees. And I'm going to buy a piece of tactical cheese. If you're going in cheap, you don't need to bring these. I'm bringing these because it's something I can afford without it causing issues. If you want to bring them in starting out, you can purchase them at Tier 1 Therapist. So it's something I'd recommend. They've saved me numerous times. And worst case scenario, once you pick up anything worthwhile, you can drop them or use them. So I'm going to bring this stuff in and do a cheap run to show you. So if you were going in with just the alpha container, I would recommend pineapple juice and AI2 and painkillers. Because at any point in time you can use all three of these and be fine. The only one I would recommend saving until you absolutely need it is the painkillers. Because even if you're bleeding out and you're almost dead and both legs are broken, if you take the painkillers, it will increase the speed at which you move. So instead of limping and dying slowly and not being able to make it, and you're like 5 feet away from the exit, the painkillers will get you there fast enough that you should be able to make it out, unless you're absolutely toast anyways. So it's a good investment to leave until you absolutely have to take them. So this is the setup that I'm going to go in with. My PM pistol, 2 magazines, that'll give you 24 shots, which should be enough to take down most scavs. The thing about the cheap runs is that you're not aiming to take down another player. You actually want to avoid PvP as much as possible. So with that said, I don't think there's anything else to say on that, so let's jump in. Let me just turn the sound to the game on for me. And that. So the one thing I will say before we jump in is I'm a Twitch streamer. My name is Johnny Guns. My stream is I aim to donate 50% of everything I make for May and possibly ongoing to buy games, board games, toys, video like consoles, systems, stuff like that for sick kids' hospitals. That's my hope, and hopefully you guys watch and enjoy. So the other thing for when you're starting out, and even when you're farther up, do your scav runs. For a scav run, I tend to take my scavs, if depending on what I have, into factory or interchange. Shoreline can be half decent if you have something. If you have some form of decent weapon. If all I have is a handgun, I would rather go into interchange or factory, because the factory run will be quick, and you can only really trade up from there. Interchange will take you longer, and you'll have to go a lot slower, but you can come out with a fair bit of money on that. And then even if you don't find any guns, or you do find a couple of guns but nothing worthwhile, it's still free. There's no risk to it, so I always do your scav runs if you can. But for this, I'm going to show you the cheap interchange run. So I'm going to play it normal, like with players and everything. and I'm going to ensure my gun and both magazines. So what you'll do is you'll ensure your PM pistol and all of your magazines, or even just one or two, one mag, that's fine. And the reason for this is that when you reload, because you're looking to trade up, you can quickly reload by double tapping R. This will drop the magazine in the gun onto the ground and load the second one in faster. So from there, if your magazine is on the ground, there's a good chance nobody's going to pick it up, and that means that you'll get your magazine back for another run. The other reason is that the gun, your PM pistol, even just the PM pistol, the cheapest thing, runs 5,000 rubles. For me, it's 4,700 with all of my bonuses. So because of that, if you insure it, it's going to cost you very little to insure. And then if you die and nobody takes the handgun that you have, the cheap handgun that nobody really wants, you're going to get your gun back for about 300 rubles. So you've just saved like 4,700 rubles for the gun that you can use again. Or if you do find a bigger gun, or like if you find more weapons or stuff like that, or if you're just really close to dying, you can drop your gun in a bush, die, or use the other gun you have and get your other, like the weapon you have, insured back later. So it's definitely something worth doing once you start making a little bit of money. And even if you're almost broke, the PM handgun, for getting your gun back for 300 rubles is definitely helpful. So for this, I always do the daytime, unless I'm in a group. So going in here, I actually have a task in here to kill 30 scavs for Ragman. So in here, you actually do want to fight some scavs if you can find them, and they're not in groups. So this is actually perfect timing on this. Between the PM pistol and the TT pistol, I much prefer the TT pistol, but if you're broke, you may not want to spend that kind of coin on something you could lose quickly, because you can definitely lose your handguns fast. You can lose any weapon fast. The other thing you'll notice is I'm not wearing armor, I'm not wearing a helmet, I'm not wearing any vests. I'm going in bare bones, handgun, and a couple of mags. So I'm going to use this time on the loading screen to give you a couple of tips. When you go in interchange, there are two exit points. You can go north or the south. If your exit point is north, go to the front of the building and go to the right. If your exit is at the south, go to the back of the building and go to the right, facing away from the building. So as you leave the building, go to the right, and you should end up at the exit point. Just know which one you're going to and know which end of the building you're at, and you'll be able to find your exit pretty quickly. A reason I prefer interchange compared to somewhere like customs or shoreline is that I found that less often you will run into exit campers. So here, any of your big groups are gone within the first 30 minutes, generally speaking, because they go in, they kill the other high-geared people, and they leave. They want very low risk of being caught out in this map. Your lower geared people tend to gear up on the dead bodies they find or off the scavs and leave really quickly as well. So one of the things you're banking on here is that if you take it slow and patiently, you can do pretty well. If you are absolutely broke, have no money, and have to run this with nothing but a hatchet, you can go straight to the top. Okay, so we spawned at the northern exit, which puts our exit in the south, at the far corner. So the great thing about starting here is there's actually a green box you can find relatively close. So in here has a chance to spawn an AK-74U. And a bunch of ammo. So when you go in here, grab the BT, you can grab BT rounds or any B round for the 5.56 ammo, or just any ammo you feel you need. But one of the things I got was this flashlight. Doesn't seem like something really worth grabbing, but it's free money. So if you have an alpha container, then you would put that into your alpha container and pull out the AI-2. So starting here is really good. It's probably my favorite position because it's close to the idea. So with this map, it is fairly large, and you want to try and give a minute or two for your high-geared players and your any players that are looking for a fight or looking to get quick loot and gear up really quickly. You want to give them a chance to go underground. Most of the time, players will push inside into the underground parking. This is good. So that site that we just picked up is actually worth a half-decent amount of money on its own. So the trick is to wait and listen. Move relatively slow and try not to get caught in the open. So right now, we need to avoid players as much as possible. A quick kill, using only 2 shots. Getting us an SKS, a vest, and a couple of pieces of cheap clothing. So now we have to search the vest to find out how much ammo we have before we can actually load it. So remember, double tap, quick reload. If you can get a tag off of somebody, if you can get somebody's dog tag, that's generally worth a fair bit of money. So, what we did there, and notice how even through both kills we had, we took no damage. So at this point, you have the option to leave as quickly as possible, in which case you should go back out the way you came and hook around outside as around long. The reason for this is because you will run into less players outside in the like outside along the wall than you will in the actual mall. For us though, we have a reason to be here. It appears that the glass here seems to be bulletproof. We can work with that, as he can't hit us through it either. So this is where patience comes in. The problem is, I don't know how long he will take to stand up. He will, however, at some point, hopefully, stand up. One thing to remember is that in this game, scavs are very smart. So he may lay there indefinitely or until we go to leave. So the tactic here, if you had the option, would be to simply throw a grenade back there, and it would either kill him, or he would go to run, and then you could stand and shoot him that way. But as we don't have that option currently, it puts us in kind of a bad position. So one thing to watch is watch your bottom left. If you sit aiming down the sight for a long period of time, it'll drain your stamina. If that happens all the way, you will be unable to properly aim or sprint or jump or do any other thing that requires any amount of stamina. This puts you at an extreme disadvantage, especially in firefights over any distance, or if you're losing, you can't escape. So here, I do have to move that up and apply it to my 4 slot. The reason for this is because I will have to push an attack on this enemy. We seem to have actually killed him before he hit beforehand, which is good. Move that there. If you find food on an enemy, it is a good idea to consume it immediately if you can use it. So here we have a Vepr, semi-automatic assault weapon with fairly high damage and good ammunition. So from this point, if you are simply here to get some money, to get some quick cash, this would be a good time to take your guns and leave. once again out the door and all the way around, as that would most likely be your safest course. So I think that was a player, as they had fully automatic weapons and relatively decent aim, and they attacked us fairly quickly. Yeah. So when it comes to NPCs such like scavs, there tends to be a little bit of a delay. He was able to jump on us immediately and outgun from that point. Okay. So yeah. So sadly, we were killed in that raid, but the things we got from it are a flashlight, a PK06 sight, a dog tag for player 28, and a rail. So what we'll do, so that there is what we got coming out of that raid. We did, however, lose our pistol and 3 magazines, and an AI2 medkit. So the total of that is roughly 7,000 rubles. So we'll say 8,000 to be safe. So for this, we're actually going to remove the dog tag from the math. We're going to go to mechanic. So for that, we came out a little bit under what we wanted to hit. However, had we kept some of the ammunition that we'd found earlier, we would have broken even, and had we left with the guns that we found, we would have come out far ahead, as the Vepr alone is worth roughly 10,000 rubles without a magazine, I believe. 12,000. Let's see if it just needs to reset. Okay, yeah. So the Vepr is worth 12,000 to mechanic and 12,000 to proper. So we would have gotten 12,000 for that, and roughly another 12,000 for the SKS. That's before you take in the ammo and the vest. Now, what we did get from there is a dog tag worth just shy of 20,000. And as you notice, that fight wasn't with a high-geared player. That was simply with a player level 28 using nothing but their hatchet to make 19,000 rubles. That puts us far ahead of where we went in. Even after taking in the loss, you're looking at roughly 12,000. You're looking at a 12,000 ruble gain overall, roughly. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our TT pistol that we have here. Okay, I need 3 magazines. So go in here, talk to Prapper, buy 3 magazines. We have 3 of these. We have 3 bullets left. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy another 21 to fill those magazines. Okay. We're going to go back to Therapist, buy 1 more of these. Put that back in there. Load our magazines again. And get ready to go back in. So that was a very short-lived run, and we ran into numerous player enemies, which isn't something I've run into too terribly often. So, and once again, to ensure our handgun and our 3 magazines is 455 rubles. For this, though, we're going to talk to therapist and get it so that way we can try and get it back a little bit faster. And that only costs us another, we'll say 70, just to go a little bit over. If my math seems off to some of you, it's I try and round up for everything. So if something's going to cost 9,500, I will say it costs 10,000. It's that way if you come out with 11,000, then you'll actually have more money than you thought you did, which is always a good thing. So on that last run, like I'd said, if we'd left with the Vepr, or if we just grabbed the SKS and left, we would have walked away with 12,000 apiece. If we'd walked away with both instead of pushing forward, we would have walked away with closer to 25,000, on top of what we walked away with on top of what we already walked away with. So if you're starting out or you're doing a scav run and you're just looking for those quick things, that would have been the better way to go. You could have sold the SKS simply due to the fact that it is worth a fair bit of money and the slow reload time. If you're in a firefight with another player or a scav, slow reload times can kill you very quickly. So I would have kept the Vepr and sold the SKS. The other reason is that with the Vepr you have access to 30-round magazines from proper for roughly 2,000 rubles. The SKS, as far as I'm aware, has a 20-round magazine. They cost more, and I believe the ammo is also, I think it uses the same ammo as the Vepr, but once again, with the slow reload time and the smaller magazine that you have access to, it's not a great choice unless you have the hunting version, which allows for a sight. Okay, so we're on the far side this time. What we have access to here is the possibility of some body armor. So in the container right there that you can kind of see, that's open on both ends, there's actually a pack of lightweight body armor that spawns. And as you can hear, we have people throwing hand grenades all over the place. So what that means is that we are most likely going to be hearing more hand grenades and a lot of heavy weaponry. So what I'm trying to do right now is get up here and see if there's a P.A.K.A. armor. So pliers are not worth very much, and later on you won't even bother to pick them up. But for now, you want to grab whatever you can find. So as you can see, there is no armor here, but occasionally it'll spawn right here. And it's really easy to get to, and when you're running a handgun, it can put you that little bit ahead of other players. So as you can hear, we have people continuing to throw hand grenades. Now that isn't a good sign, as it means that we have people with either a surplus of hand grenades that they brought in with them, which generally means highly geared, or a group, or they happen to find hand grenades in the garage. But with the number of hand grenades they seem to be throwing around, I would have to say they brought in a surplus. This can mean one of two things. Oh, this can mean one of three things. We could be dealing with a group, in which case they could all have a surplus of hand grenades on them, or we could be dealing with a heavily geared player running the surplus hand grenades, which is what it sounds like given the automatic weaponry that they have going on. The third option is low-geared players will occasionally bring in a large number of hand grenades to try and take out larger, like heavily geared players in groups. This can make them a lot more dangerous. So what we're going to do is we're going to make an attempt to disappear. This is a very bad spawn, and it could kill us very quickly. So we want to get away from the players as quickly as possible. We're not here to fight them, but they will make the attempt to kill us. So we want to be relatively quick. So, when in doubt, push for the top. If you push for the third floor, or the top floor, you can very quickly, generally speaking, get some money. So the hand grip is worth money, and the plug is actually a tradable item. But what you're aiming for is one of the things on the top floor that you won't tend to run into is other players, or at least other high-geared players. The other thing you will run into is a lot of cash registers that get mostly left alone. So already we have just over 8,000 rubles in cash alone. That's not including the items that we found. So if we were to die in the raid right now, we would still have, our raid would pretty well be covered. So we're currently at 12,000 rubles just in cash alone. So the way this raid is starting to sound, we will be dealing with heavily geared players looking for fights. As this is not a tactic in which we want to be part of. This is not something we want to be part of. We need to be very careful. Occasionally, you will find an AKSU hanging off of this post here. Sadly, we didn't find it, which will put us at a disadvantage to those around us. What this means is that we need to move quickly and carefully.
Эй, земляк, мы стрелять не хотим, мы так наблюдаем.
So, the scav seems to have seen us through the door. He also seems to have a shotgun, which puts us at a disadvantage.
Блядь, берцащими!
The advantage we do have, though, is that we sort of know where he is.
Фары врубай, вафел!
So from this point, we have a couple of options. We can push out to try and kill him and possibly end our raid relatively quickly. Which is actually what we're going to do. So the gun there that he has is a relatively cheap gun. Drop the bandage, fold this, and take the gun. The gun in which he had is not a gun I would bother to use. It's simply something that we can sell later. From here, as we are on the top floor and have so far been relatively left alone, I would recommend hitting as many cash registers as you can. Your aim is to get as much in the way of rubles as possible at this point before other players decide to come after you. Something you need at this point, though, what will need to be understood is that we are currently sitting at a major disadvantage. While we found the shotgun on the dead scav on the scav we just killed, it is less useful to you than the handgun that you brought in. So what we're going to try and do is hit as many cash registers as we can, avoid as much in the way of fights as we can, and try to maybe trade up from a scav. Currently, we have no reason to enter into PvP fights that we most likely won't win. So what we are better off to do is move slowly, try to find a scav, or simply try and get to more cash registers and find other items that we don't have to fight for. As we are not currently in a position to win any PvP versus an armed player, what we are trying to do is simply avoid it. And not stay in the same spot for any real length of time. I'm not going to give a full rundown of all the stores you should go to, but what I will say is if you can get to the top floor, simply going from store to store will get you a fair amount of rubles and possibly dollars and euros. So as you can see, he's going to try and kill us. He's going to push up and make the attempt. so far, he has yet to actually hit us. So what we're going to do is we're going to push out and take the chance. So although we died, all he got off of us was a handgun and a couple of bullets. So now to go and tally up what we brought in. So I'm going to do a quick tally to show you real quick what a half decent run will bring you. And to make this a little bit more accurate, I'm going to go out so we're sitting at 2.5 million and make it a nice easy number to check. So trading only the things we got along with our rubles that we got, it'll give us an accurate representation. So rubles alone was just shy of 30,000. Once again, checking those registers, you can get both euros and US dollars. Now on top of that, we also got a TAWS and a handle for a TAWS. We did find some pliers, but because they're specialty pliers, you set them aside for the trade item. 3 of these will get you a very high-end modded shotgun from Mechanic at the later levels. But for now, let's see what we got. So something to do is always check your different traders to see what they're willing to give you. So he'll give us about 3,400 for the pair that we have. Here we'll get 35. Since Mechanic and Prapor are two of your higher end weapon dealers, if one of them will offer you more, it's generally a safe bet. And then Peacekeeper will only pay US dollars for things. So trading to Peacekeeper depends entirely on a couple of factors. Your current conversion rate, which is what I base all of my conversion on, and what the others are willing to give you. So he'll give us 42 US dollars for this. Now I am getting, per US dollar is 93 rubles. Now one of the things to understand is that when you sell something to him, as you go, the rubles it takes to get a US dollar will decrease. So when I started, it was 95 US dollars per ruble, it was 95 rubles per US dollar. My apologies. So right now it's 93. However, what I tend to do is base the conversion from the trade off of the cost, my current cost for the rubles to US dollars. So for that, at 42, a little bit of quick math, will give you 3,906 rubles for that trade. So, because of that, it is actually more beneficial for me personally to trade it to Peacekeeper. At level 1, it would be more beneficial to generally trade it to Mechanic, as he should give you more money for these two things. If you were going to be a bit more picky about it, you would trade the TAWS to Peacekeeper and the handle to Skier, as he'll give you more money for the handle than either Prapor or Mechanic. But personally, I would rather trade it to Peacekeeper and get the US dollars, which I can now, and you will be able to later use to buy things such as pack of body armor, the UN helmet, and at the level 3, the MF Untar armor, which is one step up from the P.A.C.A. The other thing you can use all of the US dollars for that you find on everything else is sights. You can get rails for your AKs, and the big one is silencers, which he sells when you hit level 2, which I believe is at 15. I believe. I could be wrong. It's been a little bit since I hit level 2 with Peacekeeper. So at level 2, you get your pack of body armor, your thread mount adapter for your hybrid silencer that you can throw onto your AK-74N, which is a gun that I highly recommend as the weapon to aim for. Which, of course, you can trade for the BlackRock chest rig, which he sells for roughly 200 American dollars. Which is the other reason that I was willing to trade the TAWS in the handle to Peacekeeper, is if as you slowly work up, you can buy the BlackRock and trade it to Prapper for the AK-74N. The other thing is that the BlackRock itself is actually relatively common. All of these weapons are weapons that I traded BlackRocks for that I found on scavs and other players. You can occasionally get them when you do your scav run, and you'll actually occasionally spawn with a BlackRock. So you can just quickly pick some stuff up, leave, and get yourself an AK. As you can see, you can mod it relatively well. So the sight that goes on top is from Prapper and mounts directly onto the AK. You don't need a rail. The handguard and the grip are both bought from Peacekeeper at level 3. At level 2, you can get slightly lessened versions of these for cheaper, and they will do roughly the same thing. You can get the I want to say AM car at level 2. I'm not going to go into a full breakdown, but Peacekeeper will sell you just about all the pieces you need to modify your AK. So US dollars are very useful later game. So it is very good to slowly build up a pile of US dollars. So let's say that you did have some half-decent runs going through, and you came out with something such as a Vepr. And you can grab yourself the Vepr, and with the 29,000 rubles that you made, you would then take your Vepr, and generally speaking, if you get a Vepr off of a scav, it will have the AK custom mag. It's a 10-round magazine. What you can do is go into trading, go to Prapper, and buy yourself, I believe this one will go, yeah, you can buy yourself the 30-round 7.62 by 39 magazine for the AK-103 and compatible weapons. As you can see here, it will actually work with the Veprs. So, while this is a more expensive version of the one you can get at level 2 Prapper, it will still do what you need it to do. So, I'm actually going to go with the cheaper version that I have access to, and you could buy 2, and then you would simply go to Ragman at level 1, buy yourself a scab vest. I actually have a setup right here sitting in my inventory right now that I'm going to use. So it's 2 magazines for the Vepr sitting in the scab vest, and then you would throw the scab vest on, and to show you, it's just the PS round. It's nothing special. It's the only one I have access to, and it should be open to buy from Prapor immediately when you start the game. It's not a great round, but it works. It gets the job done. So what I'm going to do is take that stuff, going to slide back into here once again, and buy a piece of tactical cheese. And I believe that's all I need to take in. Yeah. So we have our tactical cheese and our painkillers. And I'm actually going to buy another bandage. Just in case. So I'm going to show you I'm going to show you a quick run with this. Now, once again, at any point in time, we could easily die. They could get a quick shot off, and that could be it. Game over. So at this point, you will have yourself something half decent. It could be a Vepr, an AK-74U, an SKS, whatever. You could also have you could have also had an amazing run and gotten out with somebody else's weaponry and come out with an AK, like a 74N or an M4 or whatever. Once again, so I'm going to show you a quick run with the AK, or with the Vepr, sorry. So I try to aim for whichever one is going to have some daylight in it. 6 a.m. seems pretty good. The sun should be coming up pretty quick. Once again, I don't personally care if I lose the scav vest, but when you start out, that simple 200 ruble investment or 300 ruble investment could be very profitable for you, or very good when you don't have to buy another 3,500 or 4,000 ruble vest. So the thing to understand is the cost versus the return rate. Prapor is very slow. It takes between 1 to 2 days to get it returned. Therapist, I believe, has is a relatively quick for 12 to 24 hour return rate, as you can see here. So down here shows your return time, 12 to 24 hours with Therapist. And it doesn't seem. And then his return rate is very slow, and it's actually 24 to 36 hours with Prapor, as I found throughout using him. So I'm going to go in with just, once again, very basic one step up, using just what would have been what you can find off of scavs. So this really cool looking magazine is actually something I simply found on a scav. I killed a scav and he happened to have it on him. I've also found them in green boxes and other weapon crates. So it is something relatively easy to find in-game, and the only difference is the ergonomics and possibly recoil. As you may have noticed, this video is entirely based on interchange. This is for a couple of reasons. First, I actually have a task in here to kill a bunch of scavs. Second, I find that interchange for a new player running low gear is actually pretty decent, as even with low gear you can immediately head to the top floor and avoid most of the firefights with other players. You could also go in for kills on scavs to get yourself some experience as you get more weapons and a bit more money to risk. So for that reason, I think Interchange is a great map to play when you're starting out. It also only has 2 possible exits that are both easy to find no matter where you are on the map. You can simply go outside, figure out where you are, and go to whichever end of the map you need to go to. Whether it be to the south or north, they're both at the very edge of the map. Okay, so we need to actually go to the northwest exfil. So this starting location is actually very good. It's another location that do prefer to start at, for a couple of reasons. There's a guaranteed scav spawn right inside the gate over there. Another reason is that immediately starting out, you can find a couple of things. You have a couple of open green boxes that I believe are capable of actually spawning weapons, and a weapons crate right here. So as it sounds, we actually have a firefight going on, and an enemy relatively close. So the problem with that is that they are running both silenced and fully automatic weapons. They don't seem to actually see us. So we're going to use that to our advantage. And sadly, they got us. It looked like there was actually a team of players, one farther up on the ridge, and that one there. So like I said, it doesn't always go your way. On that one, we lost our Vepr, and we lost our mags and scav vest, gaining absolutely nothing on it. But once again, that's the way the game works out. I hope this has helped some new players. I know the last one wasn't great, but all you would really be doing is taking your upgraded weapons through and doing the same, more or less the same run. Go straight to the top floor, kill easy to find scavs, and open scavs out in the open. And if a player is open enough that you can take the shot, sadly I missed the headshot, then that is what you can do. For closing points, once again, if you have Edge of Darkness, I would recommend the TT pistol. If you're new to first-person shooters of this nature, then I would actually recommend the PM pistol, because as you saw earlier, one headshot was enough to kill the scav, even though I put a few other rounds downrange and missed. So when you're running, if you go cheap, you can always go pistols. As you start to upgrade, you can either save your Veprs for group runs, where you have a better chance of surviving, and bring in bigger guns to take on players, or you can take them in for your regular little gear runs and have a better chance of surviving against the scavs, especially when they start getting body armor and semi-automatic weaponry, or larger shotguns. And eventually you'll have fully modded out AKs, the M1A SAS, which was actually given to me. I'm very thankful on that one. But you could also end up with fully modded out the M4A1s, both of which I took off of players. I simply removed the pistol grip on the bottom and the magazine to reduce space. As you can see, instead of taking up 2x5, it takes up 1x5, and I can fit 2 in the same space you would normally fit 1, along with a bunch of magazines. So as you go, you'll start getting better and better gear, and things will start looking brighter. This is something I got off of a run where I actually died, but I threw it in my secure container and kept it, along with other helmets I found in boxes and secure container and other crates and off of other players and scavs. Body armor and AVS vests I've picked up as I play. An alpha with a bunch of different medical supplies and a hand grenade, along with a whole bunch of bags. The great thing is, when you do cheap runs, where you're simply going with a handgun, you don't need to bring a bag, which means when you find one, you can keep it and set it aside. and then there's a few other miscellaneous items that I have kicking around. If you find a safe, you can get rollers and gold chains. You can also find them laying around, as well as bitcoins that you can find almost anywhere on the interchange map within the mall. So that is for those reasons. Those are other reasons I say that this is a good map to use when you're learning. If you are absolutely broke and just don't feel you can afford to buy a handgun and the ammo for it, then I would recommend simply do hatchet runs on factory, as you will die faster, but you will also get items faster from scavs and dead bodies before you leave. The only other closing points I have is learn what you can trade and what you can sell. So things such as these pliers will trade very well to the mechanic for the M133 tactical shotgun. 3 pliers gets you the shotgun with a lot of attachments. What this means is that these items that you can find on the rare occasion will get you a shotgun you can break down and sell pieces to, use as is, or sell as is for rubles or US dollars for other things that you want. You can use your bitcoins to buy other weapons, such as the PP-19 at level 2, Glocks as you level, the MPX, the AKM, the M4A1 Space Marine, and then as you go, a whole number of different guns from Mechanic. Also, 7 bitcoins gets you the weapons case, which as it will actually turn it into it will take up 10 slots as far as I'm aware, as you can see here, and give you 50 slots to use to store weapons and ammo, and I believe mods as well. Another thing before I shut this video down is make fence your best friend. A couple of reasons for this is that you can buy magazines and armor above your grade, like above your level. So the 20 round magazine for the VSS and the ASFAL are you won't get for a long time. But if you happen to have a gun that you're looking to take in, you can buy the magazine from Fence. The other reason is that Fence will sell ammo that you can't purchase, that you may not be high enough level to purchase yet, from people like Prapor and Peacekeeper. On here you can find armor-piercing rounds, along with different mods and stuff that you can't buy elsewhere. You also have the chance of buying very high-end armor and task items, along with fully modded weapons, such as this here, missing only the back and the grip, both of which I believe are fairly cheap to buy, along with armor that you can't get at low levels. So because of these things, I highly recommend every day that you decide to go in and play to slowly stockpile and buy up the ammo that will help you as you play and as you go in. So I will show you quickly what I mean. Where is it? My case here, I do not actually have access to buy any of this ammo from any of my traders. However, Fence does not discriminate against level or trading reputation. He will sell you whatever was sold to him. It will be at a very inflated price, but still available. So the BP rounds are one of the best rounds, if not the best, in the game. And they will tear through just about any armor with very little effort. The BS rounds are also in the top 2 or 3 bullets to use as they will also shred through most armor, I believe including the fort, really quickly. The PP round here is this thermally strengthened bullet that, while it is a very good and very solid round available at a higher level, I believe doing a mission for Prapper, it is a good round to load into magazines that you're using more expensive ammo with. So if you can get yourself, if you have a 30 round magazine, you can load 15 of the PP rounds with the BP rounds and give you a more level fire, a more leveled out cost to damage ratio. So if this way, if you end up going up against somebody with high armor, you have a consistent damage against towards them using the BP rounds. And if you go up against somebody who isn't wearing armor, you're using less high-end ammunition and more mid-grade ammunition to take down the target at a cheaper cost. Therefore, it is a good thing to do. People call this method candy caning a magazine, which you can do with any magazine by simply breaking up your stacks and loading them into the magazine bit by bit. So, I hope this has been helpful. This is my first video that's going up on YouTube, as I didn't see one available for the updated game patch as it sits. And I hope these tips will help you to level up, get more money, and get more weapons to have a more enjoyable gameplay experience. Thank you for watching, and happy hunting.